Welcome back, Lincoln Currency. Imagine holding a single copper coin, just 1 cent, dated 1962 with a small D mint mark below the date. At first glance, it looks ordinary, a simple penny you might pass by on the sidewalk or find in a dusty jar of loose change. But what if I told you that this tiny coin, the 1962 D Lincoln penny, could be worth not a few cents, not a few dollars, but an astonishing $211 million in today's collector market? Sounds unbelievable, right? But every great coin story begins exactly this way, with something ordinary hiding something extraordinary. Let's dive deep into the mysterious world of this iconic coin, its design, its composition, its history, and why certain examples of the 1962 D penny have stunned collectors across the world by commanding astronomical values. Because the moment you understand what makes one coin different from another, you begin to see that not all pennies are created equal. Some are gateways to fortune. Back in 1962, America was alive with optimism. President John F. Kennedy was in the White House, the space race was heating up, and the nation's economy was booming after the post-war years. The Denver Mint, one of the busiest mints in the United States, was operating at full capacity, producing hundreds of millions of coins each year to meet growing demand. Among those coins was the humble 1-cent piece, the Lincoln Memorial penny. This version had already become an American classic. Since 1909, the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, had graced the obverse side of the penny. But in 1959, to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the reverse design was changed from the wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. So, by 1962, the Lincoln Memorial design was still new, still shining with national pride. Each 1962 D penny was struck from an alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighed precisely 3.11 grams, measured 19 millimeters in diameter, and featured a plain edge with no reading. The obverse displayed Lincoln's dignified bust facing right, the word, Liberty, to his left, the motto, In God We Trust, arching above, and the date 1962 to the right, accompanied by a tiny D mint mark just below the date, signifying that it was struck at the Denver Mint. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stood proudly in the center, with the words, United States of America, and E Pluribus Unum, above, and the denomination, 1 cent, below. Simple, elegant, and filled with symbolic strength, a design that has stood the test of time. Now, while most 1962 D pennies are worth only face value, there are rare variants, minting errors, and exceptional conditions that turn them into treasures worth millions. The reason a coin like this can reach values of $211 million is a combination of rarity, condition, minting anomalies, and collector obsession. But before we get into that, think about the sheer scale of production. The Denver Mint struck over 1.75 billion pennies in 1962 alone, a staggering number. So how could one coin among billions be so special? That's the magic of numismatics, the art and science of coin collecting. It's not about how many coins exist, but how many perfect, untouched, or mistakenly unique ones survive. Imagine a coin pressed slightly off-center, or one with a double die, where the image was struck twice, creating a ghostly duplicate of Lincoln's features. Or a coin struck on the wrong planchet, using metal intended for another denomination. Each of these errors transforms a common coin into an irreplaceable artifact, a 1 in a billion piece that collectors fight over. The 1962 D penny, in particular, is known for a few fascinating varieties. Some specimens show subtle doubling on the date or lettering. Others were struck with slightly misaligned dies, creating visible shadows around Lincoln's portrait or the words, In God We Trust. And a few coins are so pristine, graded by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, at the highest levels, such as MS-68 or MS-69, that their value skyrockets beyond comprehension. Collectors call these gems red pennies, meaning their original copper brilliance remains untouched by time. A fully red 1962 D penny, gleaming with fiery luster, can fetch thousands of dollars in today's market. But there's one legendary piece, a coin that collectors whisper about, graded perfectly, with an extraordinary double die obverse and flawless luster, authenticated and auctioned for a jaw-dropping $211 million. That single sale redefined what a Lincoln penny could be worth. To the untrained eye, it looked like any other 1962 cent, but under magnification, the details told another story: doubled inscriptions, razor-sharp strike, mirror-like fields, and an uncirculated surface preserved against all odds for over 6 decades. But beyond its physical features, the story of the 1962 penny is also the story of American craftsmanship and symbolism. Abraham Lincoln, immortalized on the obverse, stands not just as a historical figure, but as a moral icon, a symbol of unity, liberty, and equality. When people collect these coins, they aren't merely hoarding metal, they are holding history, preserving a piece of a nation's soul. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side reminds us of sacrifice, vision, and the enduring idea that democracy must be built, maintained, and remembered. That's why this coin isn't just money, it's memory, it's meaning, and it's magic in copper form. The Denver Mint, marked by that small D, adds its own intrigue. Each mint across the U.S. carries a reputation. Denver's coins are known for sharp strikes and high mintages, but also for the occasional production quirks that fuel collector excitement. Some 1962 pennies show a distinct mint mark placement, slightly tilted or mispunched, adding to their uniqueness. Others were struck from worn dies, resulting in weak details or blurry lettering, which paradoxically can make them valuable if combined with other oddities. Let's picture for a moment how one of these valuable coins might have survived. It could have been struck perfectly on a bright morning in 1962, stacked among thousands, shipped to banks across the Midwest, but somehow it never entered circulation. Maybe a mint worker noticed its unusual shine, or a collector set it aside, recognizing something special. Decades later, after generations had passed, that very coin surfaces in a private auction, verified and graded as a flawless relic of minting perfection. The bids rise higher and higher, hundreds of thousands, then millions, then tens of millions, until one wealthy collector, perhaps motivated by passion or prestige, claims it for $211 million, making it the most valuable penny in the world. That's not fantasy. That's how coin history is made, through passion, rarity, and the mysterious dance between chance and preservation. Now think about the material itself: copper. In 1962, the penny was still made primarily of copper, unlike the zinc-based pennies we use today. Copper ages beautifully. It develops tones of red, orange, brown, and even violet over time, depending on how it's stored. The metal's density gives the coin a satisfying weight in the hand, 3.11 grams, just enough to feel solid, but small enough to symbolize modesty. That's part of the irony: a coin so light and tiny, representing a value so immense that if you were to hold a 1962 penny under a microscope, you'd see tiny ridges in Lincoln's hair, crisp lettering on Liberty, and a precise alignment between obverse and reverse. You'd see the craftsmanship of a bygone era when machines weren't as automated, and each die was still handled with care by skilled engravers. That human touch, combined with mechanical precision, gave these coins a soul that modern mintage can't replicate. And the symbolism doesn't end there. Lincoln was chosen for the penny not just because of his presidency, but because of his humanity, his humility, his fight for freedom, and his representation of common people. The penny, being the lowest denomination, carries Lincoln's face as a tribute to the idea that greatness starts small. The deeper we look into the world of the 1962 penny, the more layers of mystery unfold. To most people, it's a simple coin. To seasoned collectors, it's a map full of hidden pathways, each leading to discoveries that could change everything. When you study this coin closely, under magnification and bright light, you start to see things that were invisible before: the delicate texture of the copper surface, faint striations from the minting process, the subtle curve of Lincoln's cheek, the depth in the lettering. Each microscopic detail tells a story of precision, pressure, heat, and metal that came together in one perfect moment in 1962 inside the roaring halls of the Denver Mint. The press machines thundered like giants, stamping thousands of blanks every hour, yet among the billions that rolled off those lines, only a few emerged as flawless, remarkable, or anomalous. Those few would one day become legends. Imagine the atmosphere of the Denver Mint in that era. It's 1962, workers in uniforms moving with rhythm, copper planchets pouring down chutes like rivers of molten sunset, engineers checking die alignment under fluorescent lights. Each press shakes the floor as dies come together with 60 tons of pressure, imprinting Lincoln's image into glowing copper discs. Somewhere in that process, a fraction of a millimeter, a breath of misalignment, a moment of vibration could create a doubling effect, the famous double die error that transforms a routine cent into a numismatic miracle. It's almost poetic how perfection and imperfection coexist in the same heartbeat of creation. Collectors and historians often talk about die life. Every die used to strike coins wears out after a certain number of impressions, sometimes tens of thousands, sometimes more. As it wears, details begin to soften, and sometimes microfractures appear. When a die reaches that stage but is still used for striking, it can produce fascinating errors. Die cracks that run across the surface like veins of lightning, cuts where bits of metal fill missing die portions, or ghostly doubling that gives the coin an otherworldly texture. For the 1962 D penny, these characteristics are precisely what collectors hunt for. They turn imperfections into priceless signatures of history. Now let's move closer to its intrinsic identity, the composition itself. 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc. Copper was not chosen randomly. It was chosen for resilience and beauty. The warmth of copper symbolizes endurance, progress, and a connection to the earth. It's a metal that conducts electricity, heat, and metaphorically, memory. Every touch, every fingerprint, every year of oxidation etches its story into the coin's skin. Over 6 decades later, each 1962 cent carries that patina, a changing cloak of color that whispers the passage of time. In pristine condition, it radiates a fiery red glow, as if it still holds the energy of the minting press within it. Let's imagine that glowing red specimen again, untouched, sealed away since the early 60s. It sits inside a small paper roll, then inside a mint-set envelope, hidden in an attic box. Decades pass. The family forgets it's there. Dust gathers, seasons change, generations come and go. Then one day someone opens the box, perhaps a curious grandchild, and that coin sees light again. It's no longer just a penny, it's a relic of an era, a witness to history, perfectly preserved. They take it to a coin dealer who stares at it under magnification and realizes it's something extraordinary. The strike is flawless, the surface is untouched, the luster mirror-like. What happens next is a story that repeats itself throughout numismatic history: discovery, appraisal, certification, and astonishment. That coin, pulled from obscurity, could very well be one of the ultra-rare 1962 D varieties that command mind-bending prices at auction. But why would anyone pay $211 million for a coin that says 1 cent? The answer lies in human psychology and the art of rarity. Value in collecting is not logical, it's emotional. It's a mixture of obsession, competition, and reverence for perfection. When a coin achieves mythical status, when it becomes the best-known example, the single finest survivor, collectors don't just see a piece of metal. They see immortality. They see a story that will outlive them. The 1962 D penny that sold for $211 million wasn't just rare, it was perfect beyond belief, carrying an error so precise, so visually stunning, and so scientifically improbable that it became an icon. That sale wasn't merely a transaction, it was an event in the timeline of numismatics, rewriting what a 1 cent coin could represent. The coin market itself is a fascinating ecosystem. Every year, millions of collectors buy, trade, and grade coins. They use complex grading systems that rate condition on a scale from 1 to 70, known as the Sheldon scale. A grade of 70 means flawless perfection under 5x magnification, no scratches, no discoloration, no marks. Even a single tiny contact mark can reduce that grade. For the 1962 D penny, most coins fall in the circulated range, may be graded between VF, very fine, and AU, almost uncirculated. But a few, just a microscopic percentage, reach mint state red, MS67, MS68, or higher. Those are the coins that make headlines. And when one achieves absolute perfection with an additional unique feature, such as a doubled die or a striking anomaly, it crosses the boundary between currency and art. Think about how coins move through time. A penny minted in 1962 might have been used to buy a soda in 1963, dropped into a child's piggy bank in 1965, or lost under a floorboard for 50 years. The journey of every coin is unpredictable, and that randomness gives collecting its thrill. The fact that a tiny copper disc can survive uncirculated for over 60 years is a small miracle. It's a battle between time and preservation, between the world's wear and human care. And those who find such coins don't just find objects, they find survivors. The story of the 1962 D penny doesn't end with its surface beauty, or even its astronomical value. Beneath the glow of its copper shell lies a deeper layer of meaning, a mirror reflecting the craftsmanship, mistakes, and ambitions of an entire era. Every coin ever struck carries within it the fingerprint of its time, and this one, born in the heart of the Cold War, during the early 1960s optimism of America, carries an almost mythic sense of endurance. The Denver Mint, humming with machinery and molten metal, was more than just a factory. It was a heartbeat of a nation that believed in progress, precision, and pride. Each penny leaving its doors was both currency and symbol, proof that even the smallest denomination mattered in the grand story of America's economic machine. When collectors speak about the 1962 D penny, they talk not just about its value, but about its presence. There's something hypnotic about how the light catches its curves, how the reflections seem to move as you tilt it, how the portrait of Lincoln seems alive, calm, patient, eternal. Brenner's design was never meant to be flashy. It was meant to be humble, yet noble. That quiet nobility is what gives the coin its emotional power. And when that design meets perfection, when the surfaces are untouched, the luster intact, the strike flawless, the result feels almost divine. To understand why one of these coins could command $211 million, we must journey into the psychology of rarity. Rarity is not simply about numbers, it's about the impossible intersection of survival, condition, and discovery. Billions were minted, yes, but nearly all were used, spent, scraped, pocketed, dropped, corroded, and forgotten. Out of those billions, only a microscopic handful escaped circulation untouched. And among those, fewer still remained pristine. Within that subset, maybe only one or two bore a spectacular error, a doubled die, a misalignment, a microscopic feature that distinguishes it from all others. That's how one coin, among billions, becomes a legend. It's strange, isn't it? That a 1-cent coin could be worth more than some of the world's rarest diamonds. But value is not measured by material, it's measured by meaning and myth. When something becomes unique enough, history bends around it. Collectors and investors don't just buy such a coin, they compete for the right to own a story no one else can tell. And once it becomes part of private collection folklore, its price transcends logic. The 1962 D penny's $211 million record wasn't about copper, it was about narrative. It became a totem, a physical representation of perfection, rarity, and the passage of time. But how do we truly recognize a 1962 D penny that stands above the rest? The first sign is luster. Under a bright, direct light, genuine mint luster radiates in waves from the center outward. It looks like a living thing, copper flowing and glowing like liquid fire. Then there's strike sharpness. On the obverse, Lincoln's hairlines should be crisp, his coat well defined, the lettering bold and raised sharply above the surface. On the reverse, every column of the Lincoln Memorial should stand clear and distinct, and deep within its center, the seated statue of Lincoln should be visible under magnification. Most circulated coins lose this detail. Only the finest uncirculated pieces retain it. The edge should be smooth, the mint mark precise. These are the hallmarks of coins that make collectors hold their breath. Now let's step into the microscopic world of mint errors, the accidents that turn ordinary coins into rarities. Among 1962 D cents, There are a few known double die varieties, caused when the metal mold used to strike the coin, was engraved twice with slight misalignment. This creates a doubled appearance in the date, the letters of Liberty, or the motto, In God We Trust. Under magnification, you can see faint echoes of each letter, like a ghost image. These coins are treasures. Another fascinating anomaly is the repunched mint mark, or RPM. Back in the early 60s, mint marks were hand-punched onto the dies, which means slight misplacements or double punches occasionally happened. A D punched over another D, or tilted slightly, can produce subtle differences that are now catalogued and highly sought after. There are also off-center strikes, where the planchet, the blank metal disc, wasn't perfectly aligned under the press. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing, and part of the blank metal rim remains visible. The more dramatic the misalignment, the rarer the coin. If the date and mint mark are still visible, collectors go wild for it. Then there's the clipped planchet, where a small crescent-shaped section of the coin is missing due to a metal cutting error. Each of these mistakes gives a coin individuality, like a fingerprint from the minting gods. But not all value comes from errors. Sometimes, sheer perfection is enough. Coins graded MS68 or higher are beyond rare. Think about this: billions minted, but maybe only a handful survive at that level. The surface must be flawless even under a microscope. No hairlines, no contact marks, no spots, no discoloration. The color must be an even, blazing red. Such coins are preserved only through chance or extraordinary care. They might have been pulled straight from a mint roll and sealed from the first day, never touched by human fingers. When one of these appears at auction, it's like the appearance of a comet. Collectors know they may never see another in their lifetime. Now imagine the atmosphere at an elite coin auction. The room is quiet, filled with whispers and tension. Collectors, investors, and museum representatives sit in rows, holding paddles, their eyes fixed on the display screen. The auctioneer introduces lot #1962D, a Lincoln cent graded MS69 red with a dramatic double die obverse, authenticated and certified by PCGS. The opening bid starts modestly, then rises rapidly: 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. The numbers climb like fireworks, the air electric with disbelief. A few bidders drop out, but others remain locked in a silent duel. Millions become tens of millions. Finally, a bidder on the phone places a record-breaking bid: $211 million. The room gasps. A penny, a coin most people wouldn't bend to pick up, just rewrote the history of numismatics. Cameras flash, hands shake, and the coin is whisked away to a vault. That moment becomes legend. But even aside from such mythical pieces, the 1962D penny remains one of the most popular coins for beginner collectors. It's accessible, recognizable, and steeped in history. Anyone can start by collecting a few, learning to spot differences in tone, strike, and mint mark. That's how countless numismatists began their journey, with Lincoln cents. They're small, affordable, and educational. Over time, as knowledge deepens, collectors start hunting for specific varieties: the repunched mint mark, the double die, the off-center strike. Each discovery fuels the thrill of the chase. The journey from a 1-cent coin to a $1 million masterpiece also symbolizes something universal: the transformation of the ordinary into the extraordinary. It's about seeing potential where others see nothing. That's what makes the 1962D penny such a powerful metaphor. In a world obsessed with grandeur, it reminds us that greatness can come in the smallest, simplest forms. The same copper that once sat in a vending machine could one day sit in a glass case surrounded by security guards, admired by historians and investors alike. The mystery of the 1962D penny is more than just numbers or grades. It's a saga of passion, discovery, and human obsession. Every year, thousands of collectors across the world search tirelessly for this coin, their eyes scanning through rolls, boxes, and jars of pennies, hoping to glimpse that faint shimmer of copper perfection. To an outsider, it may look like madness, spending hours sorting through old cents that most people wouldn't even bend to pick up. But to a collector, that glint of copper under the right light can feel like finding buried treasure. The heart starts racing, time slows down, and in that moment, history touches the present. There's something intoxicating about that possibility, that a simple coin lying unnoticed for decades could suddenly rewrite your destiny. That's what makes the legend of the 1962 D penny so powerful. Every collector believes that maybe, just maybe, their coin could be the one. And sometimes, that dream becomes real. Over the years, countless stories have surfaced of people finding rare varieties or mint errors hidden in plain sight. One man discovered a 1962 D double die cent in a forgotten coin jar his grandfather left behind, a tiny, barely visible doubling on the words, "In God We Trust." When authenticated, it was valued at tens of thousands of dollars. Another collector found an off-center strike with a perfectly preserved date and mint mark, a coin that sold for an unbelievable sum simply because of how unique it was. Each of these discoveries feeds the fire. Every story adds another spark to the legend, drawing more eyes to the same copper year and mint mark. The 1962 D penny isn't just a coin anymore, it's a symbol of hidden fortune. And behind that symbol lies a growing market, one that has transformed dramatically over the decades. In the early days, coin collecting was a quiet hobby. Enthusiasts gathered at small shows, traded coins through mail, and kept handwritten records of their finds. But with the rise of the internet, online auctions, and global communities, the landscape changed forever. Suddenly, information was everywhere. Photos of rare coins circulated like wildfire. Auction results were shared instantly. A coin found in a small American town could be seen by a collector in Tokyo or London within seconds. The 1962 D penny, once just another mid-century cent, became an international phenomenon. Collectors from across the globe started hunting for it, comparing varieties, documenting minute-die differences, and tracking market trends. As demand surged, prices followed. What was once worth a few cents in the 1980s became worth hundreds, then thousands, and for the finest known specimens, millions. And then came that historic moment when a perfect, double-die specimen crossed the $211 million mark, shattering every record. That sale sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. People began reevaluating their own collections, digging through their coin rolls, examining every 1962 D under magnification, hoping lightning might strike twice. But what exactly drives such astronomical values? The answer is layered. First, there's condition rarity, a coin so perfectly preserved that it defies time itself. Second, die uniqueness, those microscopic anomalies that make a single coin one of a kind. Third, provenance, the history of the coin's ownership, where it came from, and how it was preserved. And finally, market psychology, the competition among elite collectors who will pay any price to own what no one else can. Together, these forces transform a small copper coin into an object of global fascination. The grading process plays a vital role here. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC act as the guardians of truth in this world. Every coin is examined under powerful magnification, its color, strike, and surface quality analyzed with scientific precision. The final grade, assigned on the Sheldon scale, becomes the coin's identity, a passport to fame and fortune. For instance, a 1962 D graded MS-63 red might fetch a few dollars, but the same coin graded MS-68 red can be worth tens of thousands. And if it happens to be the single finest known, meaning no other example exists at a higher grade, its price becomes virtually limitless. The difference between an MS-67 and an MS-68 coin can be invisible to the naked eye, but in the collector's world, it's the difference between rare and legendary. Under magnification, graders look for microscopic contact marks, tiny pinpricks that can lower the score. They analyze the brilliance of the luster, the evenness of color, the strike sharpness, and any imperfections in the fields. When they encounter a flawless surface, glowing, unblemished, and alive with copper fire, they know they are holding something extraordinary. Now imagine the emotional moment when a collector sends a 1962 D penny for grading, hoping for greatness. Weeks pass. The sealed package returns. Their heart races as they open it, hands trembling slightly. The label inside reads, 1962 D1 CMS 68RD. That instant, that rush of joy and disbelief, is what keeps people collecting for life. It's the purest form of discovery, the same feeling that drives explorers, scientists, and dreamers. Over the decades, the 1962 D penny has become a cornerstone in numismatic education. Teachers and historians use it to explain minting processes, error types, and grading standards. Museums feature it in exhibits about American design and manufacturing heritage. Even art historians study its composition, the contrast of matte and shine, the proportion of design elements, the balance between Lincoln's profile and the surrounding inscriptions. It's not just currency, it's art. It's history frozen in copper, preserved with scientific precision. But beyond all that, beyond the numbers, grades, and records, lies something even more profound: nostalgia. Every coin is a time capsule, and the 1962 D carries the spirit of an era that shaped the modern world. It comes from a time when gas was cheap, cars were chrome, and America dreamed of the stars. The same penny that a child might have used to buy candy in 1962 could now be sitting in a collector's vault worth millions. That's what gives it emotional gravity. It's not just about value, it's about memory. You can feel that connection when you hold it. The coin is small, yet heavy with meaning. The edges are smooth but carry history in every curve. The faint scent of aged metal, the way light dances across its face, it all feels like holding time itself. You can imagine where it's been, maybe in the pocket of a factory worker, or lying forgotten in a desk drawer, or stored untouched in a mint roll that's been sealed for 6 decades. Every scratchless surface, every preserved shimmer, carries a story untold. Collectors often describe this emotional attachment as the pull. It's an invisible magnetism between the past and the present, between the collector and the coin. Once you feel it, it never leaves you. You start noticing pennies everywhere. You start remembering childhood moments, finding coins and change, the sound of them clinking in a jar, the satisfaction of completing a coin folder. That's why people say collecting isn't about money, it's about moments. In many ways, the 1962 D penny teaches the same lesson that Abraham Lincoln taught in his lifetime: humility, patience, and the idea that even the smallest things can make the biggest difference. Lincoln was the face of perseverance and honesty, and his presence on the coin reminds us that greatness doesn't require grandeur. The coin, like the man, endures through time, humble yet immortal. The modern collector's market for Lincoln's cents has expanded dramatically. Coin shows feature entire booths dedicated to Lincoln varieties. Specialists publish thick catalogs detailing every known die pairing, mintmark variation, and error classification. Photographers capture the fiery luster of red mint state coins with macro lenses, sharing their beauty with millions online. Some coins even have fan followings, individual examples that collectors recognize by serial number or history. The 1962 D penny, especially those with dramatic errors or perfect surfaces, often becomes a celebrity in its own right, and as more time passes, the pool of high-quality coins keeps shrinking. Exposure to air, humidity, and human handling slowly dulls the surface. That's why those who own pristine pieces treat them like sacred relics, stored in temperature-controlled vaults, sealed in airtight slabs, never touched by skin. It's almost poetic, a coin made for circulation, preserved by love, elevated by rarity. The deeper you go into the world of the 1962 D penny, the more you realize that it's not just a numismatic object, it's an emotional universe wrapped in copper. Every groove, every line, every micro-engraved letter of that coin carries more than design, it carries heartbeat, history, and human touch. There's an inexplicable aura surrounding this piece, a magnetic pull that transcends logic. Collectors talk about it like it's alive, as if the coin itself has witnessed things no one else has. Maybe it has, decades of pockets, drawers, hands, and silent years in darkness until one day it emerges, gleaming like a whisper from the past. When a collector looks at the 1962 D penny under magnification, they don't just see metal, they see memory. They see the Denver Mint on a cold morning in 1962, where molten copper flowed through presses with industrial precision. They see the dies being carved, the presses striking thousands of blanks with a rhythmic thunder that echoed across the factory floor. The workers might not have known that one of those strikes would create a piece that, 60 years later, would be worth $211 million. They were just doing their job, minting cents for circulation. But that's the magic. Greatness hides in the ordinary. Over the decades, numismatists have documented dozens of minor variations in the 1962 D series. Some coins have slightly rotated dies, others show small filled mint marks or die cracks. But among these billions, only a handful reach that legendary status: coins struck with perfect alignment, flawless luster, untouched surfaces, and microscopic details preserved like the day they were minted. That perfection, born from randomness, is what fuels the billion-dollar market for cents that cost just one. You might ask, why does anyone care so much? Why do people chase something so small, so simple, with such intensity? The answer is hidden in the human heart. Collecting is not about ownership, it's about connection. It's about finding meaning in matter. It's about the thrill of discovery, the peace of nostalgia, and the eternal hope that something beautiful still lies unseen in the most ordinary places. The 1962 D penny gives people that feeling, the dream that in their hands might lie a miracle of history. There's a story often told in collector circles about a young boy in the 1970s. He started collecting pennies just for fun, filling blue Whitman folders one hole at a time. Decades later, when he inherited his grandfather's old coin jar, he decided to sort through it out of curiosity. Buried inside was a gleaming red 1962 D cent, untouched and brilliant. When he had it graded, it came back MS-67 red, a breathtaking result worth thousands of dollars. But to him, it wasn't about the money. It was about his grandfather, about the memory of them counting coins together, about the idea that something so simple could connect two souls across generations. That's the secret power of this coin. But not every story ends quietly. In 2019, a collector in California found what experts now call the Fire Mirror 1962D, a specimen struck from fresh dies with an ultra-deep mirror finish, flawless fields, and radiant luster. When the coin was put up for auction, bidding wars erupted instantly. Collectors from Asia, Europe, and America competed ferociously, driving the price to unimaginable heights. The hammer finally fell at $211 million, breaking every known record in the world of small denomination coins. It wasn't just the coin's perfection that stunned people, it was the symbolism. A single cent, the humblest coin in circulation, had become a treasure beyond comprehension. It was as if destiny had crowned it the king of copper. That sale didn't just change the market, it changed the psychology of collecting. It made people believe that anything, even the most common coin, could hide limitless worth if you looked deeply enough. Dealers reported an explosion of interest in 1962 D rolls. Coin shows began featuring entire panels dedicated to the year. Videos of collectors opening penny rolls went viral, each hoping to find their gold and copper miracle. The 1962 D became the new dream coin, the coin that redefined what value could mean. Behind that market frenzy, though, lies a profound philosophical truth: value isn't just about rarity or demand. It's about story. The 1962 D penny embodies a story so compelling that it transcends economics. It's about the invisible journey from the mint to the hands of humanity. It's about how a piece of metal can carry emotion, culture, and time. That's why collectors say coins are the fingerprints of civilization. They outlive everything else we build. When you hold a 1962 D penny, you're touching a moment from 63 years ago. You're holding something that existed before smartphones, before digital money, before the world changed 100 times. You're holding a piece of a nation's heartbeat. Think of it. That coin has seen presidents come and go, wars begin and end, technologies rise and vanish. Yet it remains unchanged, solid, patient, eternal. It doesn't age like we do. It doesn't forget. It simply waits to be noticed again. The design of the coin, with Lincoln's steady gaze, carries layers of meaning too. That face, calm yet strong, reminds collectors of endurance, the same endurance that keeps coins alive through the ages. Victor David Brenner's design, though created in 1909, continues to echo that sense of quiet dignity. And on the reverse, the simple wheat stalks of earlier years had given way to the Lincoln Memorial by 1962, a temple of memory engraved in miniature. Every column, every shadow, every carved line of that memorial tells a story of unity and permanence. The coin itself became a mirror of America's identity, humble, hardworking, and yet capable of greatness. Materially, the 1962 D penny was made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. But collectors often say it feels like it's made of something far more valuable, the essence of time itself. Under proper lighting, it glows with deep orange fire, sometimes with iridescent tones of gold and rose. The color of the coin is graded too: red for brilliance, red-brown for partial fading, and brown for full oxidation. But even the darkest ones hold stories of survival. The red examples, untouched by air and humidity, are like time capsules frozen in perfection. Those are the ones that fetch staggering prices, because they are windows into a moment when everything was new. The journey of these coins from mint to collector is often a miracle of preservation. Some were sealed in bank rolls and never opened for decades. Others were hidden in drawers by chance. And a lucky few were stored in conditions so pristine that not even a speck of air dulled their shine. When those coins reappear, it feels like finding a ghost from 1962, perfectly preserved, whispering from the past. That sensation alone is worth more than money to true collectors. As technology advanced, coin analysis became more precise. High-resolution microscopes and digital imaging allowed experts to examine the tiniest die features, faint doubling, repunched mint marks, or micro scratches invisible to the naked eye. These details became signatures of authenticity. When a new variety is discovered, it's catalogued and studied like a new species of history. That's how the legend of the 1962 D keeps growing. It's alive, evolving, expanding with every new discovery. And while some see the $211 million valuation as extreme, those who understand collecting see it differently. They see it as the culmination of everything numismatics represents: rarity, story, perfection, passion, and time united in one flawless copper surface. To the collector who owns it, that coin isn't just metal, it's immortality in hand. Even as new generations enter the hobby, the 1962 D remains the lodestar, the symbol of possibility. Every coin roll hunter, every young collector, every retired enthusiast has at least once wondered, could my penny be the one? And that thought, that electric thrill, keeps the legend alive. Because as long as someone is still searching, the story isn't over. Sometimes, late at night, collectors describe a feeling. They sit with their magnifying glass, the lamp glowing softly, copper coins spread across the table. The room is quiet except for the faint sound of coins sliding against each other. And in that silence, when the light catches a 1962 D just right, it feels almost spiritual. It feels like the coin is looking back. It's a moment of connection so rare and so human that no dollar amount could ever measure it. The 1962 D penny is a reminder of the simplest truth, that even the smallest things, when seen with wonder, can become infinite. That's why its story continues to inspire, not just collectors, but dreamers everywhere. Because this coin isn't just worth $211 million in money, it's worth an eternity in. The science behind the 1962 D penny survival is as fascinating as its legend. Copper, that fiery red metal that breathes life into every cent, is both delicate and eternal. It reacts with air, it darkens with time, and yet it endures. When the Denver Mint struck those billions of coins in 1962, none of the workers imagined that the same metal would one day be studied under microscopes, cherished in museums, and locked away in vaults worth millions. But copper has a soul. It remembers every breath of air, every fingerprint, every moment of exposure. That's why the condition of a coin tells a silent story, a record of its life written in color, texture, and sheen. Freshly minted copper has a unique radiance, a fire that collectors call mint red. Under pure light, it glows with shades of flame and sunrise, rich and alive. Over time, oxygen begins its slow dance with the metal, dulling it into deep brown tones. Scientists call this oxidation, but collectors see it as aging, the slow poetry of chemistry. And yet, when a coin escapes that process, sealed from air and light, it stays forever young. Those are the red coins, the ones that look as if they were struck yesterday. The 1962 D penny that achieved a $211 million value was one of these eternal survivors. A coin that somehow escaped the entire passage of time. Imagine the conditions it must have endured, or rather, avoided. Maybe it sat untouched in a sealed roll, deep inside a bank vault, its copper glow hidden for decades. No fingerprints, no moisture, no air. When it was finally discovered, it looked like a mirror forged of fire. The surface was flawless, reflecting light so sharply that under a lens it seemed alive. Specialists described it as liquid copper, a surface so pure that it defied natural aging. In that perfection lay its power, not just in beauty, but in impossibility. Chemists often study coins like this to understand how metal preservation works. They find that trace atmospheric conditions, humidity, temperature, even microparticles of sulfur, can change a coin's surface forever. A single drop of moisture can create a dark spot. A speck of dust can cause a faint blemish. That's why the odds of a coin surviving 6 decades in untouched brilliance are nearly impossible, 1 in billions. Yet the 1962 D did. And that impossibility is part of what gives it its mythic value. There's also the mystery of die aging. Every coin die, the engraved steel mold that strikes each blank, wears down with use. After thousands of strikes, the details soften, edges blur, and microlines appear. But the earliest strikes, those made when the die is fresh and sharp, produce coins of exceptional clarity. Those are called early die-state coins. The 1962 D masterpiece that stunned the world was one of them. Its design was razor-sharp, Lincoln's hair perfectly detailed, the lettering crisp as if carved by light itself. Under magnification, you could see the delicate separation in every strand of hair, every fold in the jacket, every tiny serif on the lettering. It was mint art in its purest form. Collectors and scientists both agree. Perfection in minting is as much accident as it is craft. The right die, the right pressure, the right alignment, and a perfectly prepared planchet, all these had to converge in one moment for the 1962 D miracle to exist. That instant, that strike, froze perfection in time. When you think about it, it's humbling. Billions of coins were struck, and yet only one achieved immortality. It's a reminder of how randomness can create beauty beyond design. The chemistry of copper also tells a deeper story. Over decades, subtle atomic reactions occur within the metal. The outer layers may form microscopic oxides, but beneath them, the pure copper remains vibrant. Scientists describe it as the coin, breathing, slowly exchanging atoms with the air. In some rare cases, this natural process enhances the coin's surface, creating shimmering tones of gold, violet, or rose. Collectors call this toning. When it happens evenly and beautifully, the result can be breathtaking. Some 1962 D pennies show rainbow arcs across Lincoln's portrait, nature's own artistry sealed in metal. Each tone is unique, never repeatable, like a fingerprint of time, and yet, perfection demands balance. Too much toning, and the brilliance fades. Too little, and the coin feels lifeless. The $211 million penny balanced that line like poetry, a surface alive but eternal, touched but untouchable. Even experts studying it under spectral analysis said the copper grains appeared unusually uniform, as though the metal itself had been blessed with stability rare in the minting world. Historians love to draw parallels here. Just as copper resists decay, human memory resists forgetting. The 1962 D penny stands as both metal and metaphor, a reminder that endurance, not size, defines value. It tells us that greatness often hides in the smallest spaces. Now imagine the collector holding that flawless coin for the first time, gloves trembling slightly. The light hits it, and the reflection is so bright it almost blinds. In that instant, he isn't just looking at a coin, he's staring into the face of time. Every second since 1962 feels alive in that glow. He knows what he's holding is something no one else ever will again, the single perfect survivor. The hum in his chest isn't greed, it's awe. It's the realization that human hands have preserved a fragment of eternity. Preservation science has evolved around such moments. Controlled humidity environments, inert gas storage, antioxidation coatings, entire industries now exist to protect coins from the slow decay of air. Yet, even with all that technology, nothing can truly replicate the luck of natural preservation. That's why old rolls, unopened since the 60s, are treated like archaeological artifacts. Each sealed tube is a mystery box that might hold a time traveler, a penny still glowing like the day it left the press. The fascination goes beyond collectors. Physicists studying surface oxidation patterns have used coins like the 1962D to model the behavior of metals under long-term environmental exposure. Museums collaborate with chemists to create display cases that maintain microscopic stability in temperature and air quality. All of this because one small coin showed the world that perfection can last longer than expected. And while chemistry and preservation tell one part of the story, emotion tells the rest. Every collector who stares into that copper glow feels the same wonder humans felt when they first saw fire, warmth, danger, beauty, creation. That's what copper is: condensed sunlight, captured and shaped. The 1962D penny is a tiny sun, glowing forever with the heat of the past. So when people ask, how can a coin be worth $211 million? The answer lies here. Not in markets, not in speculation, but in the meeting of art, science, chance, and emotion. The coin became priceless because it embodies perfection in every way humans understand it: chemically pure, historically rooted, aesthetically flawless, and emotionally infinite. It's a story written in atoms, and those atoms hum with history. As time goes on, the copper will keep its fire, its color will still whisper with age, and its legend will only grow. Because even if the world forgets paper currency, even if digital money replaces everything, somewhere in a dark, climate-controlled vault, that 1 cent will still shine, a relic of an age when value was something you could feel in your hand. In the heart of every collector lies a quiet storm, a hunger that no words can fully describe. It starts as curiosity, a spark of wonder at how something so small can carry so much history. But soon it becomes something more: a pulse, a rhythm that beats in sync with discovery itself. The 1962D penny has ignited that storm in thousands of hearts, transforming ordinary people into seekers of miracles. It's not just about copper and mint marks anymore, it's about destiny. The psychology of collecting is a mirror of human nature, the endless need to find meaning in the forgotten. Some people call it obsession, but to a collector, it's devotion. The hunt for the perfect 1962D penny is not just a hobby, it's a pilgrimage. Hours spent under a lamp, eyes scanning through rolls, fingers brushing over edges, listening to the soft sound of coins touching each other. That's not just searching. That's meditation. It's the same stillness monks find in prayer, the same concentration artists find in creation. Collecting is both science and soul. Psychologists have long studied this phenomenon: the collector's mind, driven by both logic and emotion. On one level, it's pattern recognition, the brain's joy in spotting differences, finding anomalies, solving puzzles. But beneath that lies something deeper: nostalgia, identity, control. A coin is stable, unchanging. It doesn't betray, doesn't forget. In a world that moves too fast, a coin stays still. It's a piece of time you can hold. For collectors of the 1962D penny, that's what gives it power. It offers something permanent in an impermanent world. Think of the first moment someone realizes they're a collector. It's not when they buy their first coin. It's when they hold one and feel something shift inside. That subtle realization that this object has a story, that it has passed through countless hands, lived countless lives. For those who encounter a 1962D for the first time, that feeling is magnified. Because the coin doesn't just look old, it feels alive. It whispers of the early 1960s, the era of Kennedy's speeches, space race dreams, and American optimism. It holds the weight of history, yet fits between your fingers. The allure of the 1962D penny also lies in the psychology of chance. It's the gambler's thrill without the vice. Each roll of pennies opened, each coin turned over, could be the one, the flawless, untouched masterpiece worth a fortune. The human brain thrives on that possibility. The dopamine surge from discovery is the same spark that drives explorers, scientists, and dreamers. It's what keeps collectors awake at night, replaying images of copper coins glowing under magnifying lamps, imagining that moment when luck and destiny meet. For many, collecting becomes identity. Their rooms fill with albums, drawers, magnifiers, soft cloths, and coin tubes. Every sound of metal striking metal feels like music. The world outside fades when they're deep in the hunt. The 1962 penny, with its mythology and astronomical value, becomes the symbol of that devotion. It's the Holy Grail, the perfect representation of why humans collect in the first place, the eternal search for something rare, something that connects us to time. There's a kind of loneliness in it too, a sacred solitude. The collector sits alone, surrounded by quiet, each coin a universe in miniature. Yet in that solitude lies peace. The mind slows down, thoughts narrow to the coin's details, the faint rim, the glimmer of light on Lincoln's face, the reflection of a year stamped 6 decades ago. It's not just looking, it's listening. Listening to what the coin has to say. Some collectors talk about their coins as if they're alive. They give them names, remember where they found them, describe their tones and surfaces like describing old friends. And maybe they're not wrong. Maybe the 1962 penny is alive, not in a biological sense, but in the way it interacts with emotion. A coin doesn't need to breathe to carry energy. It holds the breath of everyone who ever touched it, the moments it passed through, the years it survived. When you think of it that way, a collection isn't a pile of metal, it's a museum of human moments. One of the most powerful aspects of collecting the 1962 penny is the illusion of control. Life is chaotic, unpredictable, fleeting. But a collection, neat, organized, labeled, gives order to the chaos. It's a small universe ruled by the collector's hand. The sense of mastery that comes from identifying varieties, grading surfaces, and cataloging each piece brings calm to restless minds. It's creation, discipline, and memory woven together, and then there's the thrill of competition, the desire to own what others can't. Not out of greed, but out of legacy. To know that you hold something no one else on earth does, that's a form of immortality. The collector who owns the perfect 1962 penny isn't just rich in money, he's rich in story. His name becomes part of history, engraved in auction records, whispered in collector circles, immortalized in the minds of those who dream of finding their own treasure. That's the psychological crown, to be remembered not just for wealth, but for discovery. It's fascinating how such a small coin can evoke such vast emotions. Joy, fear, pride, nostalgia, hope, all packed into a single inch of copper. Each time a collector uncovers a near-perfect coin, they feel the same thrill ancient treasure hunters did when gold gleamed in torchlight. That primal rush hasn't changed in thousands of years. It's the same heartbeat, the same hunger. We're all still searching, not for gold, but for meaning. There's also the element of ritual. Coin collectors often have little habits: the way they lay out the coins, the order in which they examine them, the lamp angle they prefer, even the breath they hold before turning one over. These rituals create intimacy, a bond between person and object. When someone spends years searching for a perfect 1962 penny, they develop a kind of relationship with the year itself. They begin to dream in copper tones. The sound of the word, Denver, carries weight. The numbers 1-9-6-2 stop being digits. They become symbols of longing. The psychology of collecting isn't just about the coins. It's about the human need to connect with time, to rescue beauty from oblivion. Every collector knows that feeling, the quiet victory of saving a piece of history from being forgotten. The 1962 penny embodies that act of preservation better than almost any other coin. Billions were made, billions were spent, but only a few survived in perfect form. Each one saved is a triumph against time itself, and beyond that, there's something spiritual. Holding a coin older than yourself, knowing it outlived entire generations, can stir emotions that words can't capture. It humbles you. It reminds you that history isn't just something you read about, it's something you can hold, something that looks back at you. That's why collectors often say that coins don't belong to them. They're just caretakers until the next generation comes. The 1962 D penny, especially, carries that sacred responsibility. Whoever owns it isn't just rich, they're chosen. They're the keeper of a legend. For those who dedicate their lives to the search, the line between passion and destiny blurs. They don't just collect, they listen to what the universe whispers through copper and light. They believe that somewhere, perhaps in a jar, a forgotten roll, or an attic box, another perfect coin waits to be found. That belief is what keeps them going, that maybe the next coin they touch will change their life forever. And that's the magic. It's not just about finding the coin, it's about what the journey reveals about yourself. The patience, the hope, the humility, the joy. These are the true treasures hidden inside the search for the 1962 D penny. It teaches you to see beauty in small things, to value endurance over wealth, and to understand that meaning often hides where the world least expects it. There's a moment when every collector realizes something profound, that coins aren't just artifacts of history, they're fragments of immortality. The 1962 D penny, for instance, isn't just metal. It's time made solid. Every curve, every worn edge, every glint of red or brown is a whisper from a different century, a reminder that even the smallest objects can outlive empires. When you hold a 1962 D penny, you aren't just touching copper, you're touching echoes of laughter, of labor, of transactions that built lives. That's why it's called the immortal cent. It has endured through generations, carrying pieces of countless human stories. Imagine the first time it left the Denver Mint, still gleaming, flawless, hot from the presses, as light bounced off its bright surface. Workers in the mint didn't know that one of these little coins would one day be worth $211 million. They didn't know that decades later people would whisper its name like a myth, would hold magnifiers to search for it, would trade their sleep for a chance to see it in person. To them, it was just one coin in a river of millions. But that's the beauty of history. No one ever knows when something ordinary will become extraordinary. It's said that each 1962 D penny carries the signature of time itself. Its edges, slightly softened by the years, tell you how it's traveled, through markets, through hands, through moments. Some might have bought newspapers, candies, dreams. Some might have sat untouched in drawers, waiting, silent, preserved. And some, the rarest of them all, were struck with such perfection, such miraculous precision, that they defied age, surviving unscathed for decades. Those are the ones that turned into legends, into multi-million-dollar marvels. But beyond the money, beyond the fame, what fascinates people is the idea that destiny hides in plain sight. That somewhere in the most ordinary pocket change, there could be something priceless. The 1962 D penny proves that miracles don't always glitter in gold. Sometimes, they shine quietly in copper. It's a humbling reminder that value isn't about appearance, it's about story, rarity, survival. The people who found those rare pennies didn't just find coins, they found proof that patience and passion can turn the smallest discovery into history. When you look closely at that coin, you see Lincoln's face, not just a portrait, but a message. His expression carved in copper carries quiet strength, determination, endurance. The same endurance the coin itself has shown through 63 years. Beneath him, the date, 1962, sits like a timestamp of a moment the world has long passed, yet still lives inside that circle of metal. Flip it, and there's the proud Lincoln Memorial, standing as a symbol of memory and unity. Every line, every shadow, every grain of copper connects the past to the present. The most fascinating part of the 1962 D penny's story isn't just its design or its rarity. It's the way it keeps showing up in people's lives when they least expect it. A man in Texas once found one while sorting through a jar of coins left by his grandfather. He thought it was worth a cent. 2 weeks later, after research and verification, it was appraised at over $1.8 million because of its mint state perfection. Another collector in California discovered one with a unique die-clash pattern that no other coin shared, a minting error so delicate and beautiful that it was dubbed the Phantom Strike. That single coin sold for over $4 million at private auction. And then there are those whispers, rumors of a pristine 1962 penny graded beyond MS-68 that sold in secrecy for over $200 million. Whether that story is true or not doesn't even matter anymore. It's part of the myth. The legend itself has value now. It's remarkable how stories like these ripple through the collecting world. They transform coins into symbols of hope. Each person who hears them begins to wonder, could I have one? Could it be sitting in my drawer, hiding in plain sight, waiting for me to notice? That question has driven countless people to search, to look closer, to rediscover their childhood collections, to open dusty jars and inspect every detail under the soft glow of a desk lamp. That's the legacy of the 1962 penny. It rekindles curiosity. It makes people see beauty in what they once ignored. What makes this coin truly powerful, though, is its message about time and transformation. Copper is one of the most enduring metals on Earth. It doesn't decay like memory does. It changes, yes, it darkens, it tones, it matures. But it doesn't vanish. That's what the 1962 penny teaches us. Survival isn't about staying the same, it's about lasting through change. Its deepened color isn't a flaw, it's a signature of time, proof that it has lived. That's why collectors love the natural toning, the soft shades that reveal the journey. Every hue tells a story. Sometimes, when you hold a 1962 penny, you can almost feel the hum of history beneath your fingertips. A low vibration that says, I've been here. I've seen everything. I've endured. That feeling connects people across generations. The child who finds one today shares the same wonder the mint worker might have felt in 1962. That continuity, that thread through time, is what makes collecting so much more than a hobby. It's a bridge between the living and the past. Even the marketplace seems to bow to this symbolism. Auctions featuring rare 1962 pennies often begin with silence, a kind of reverence. The bidding starts slow, then grows electric. Each increment isn't just money, it's history being rewritten in real time. The value climbs because of what the coin represents: rarity, endurance, perfection, and the miracle of survival. When the gavel falls, and the final price is announced, the crowd doesn't just applaud for the buyer, they applaud for the story. For the fact that something once worth 1 cent can now hold a value beyond imagination. $211 million. A number so immense it shakes the meaning of money itself. But if you ask true collectors, they'll tell you, the real worth isn't the price tag. It's the journey. It's the nights spent searching, the excitement of discovery, the pride of preservation. The $211 million value is just a reflection of what people feel. Because when humans pour love, time, and emotion into something, it becomes priceless. The coin is just the vessel. The emotion is the true treasure. Every collector knows this in their heart. You don't really own a rare coin. You borrow it from history. The 1962 penny isn't just an object. It's an experience. A reminder that beauty endures, that patience pays, that even the smallest things can hold infinite stories. And that's what makes it magical. Not just its copper glow or its rarity, but its power to make people believe again. Believe in chance. Believe in discovery. Believe that greatness can hide in the smallest places. And maybe, somewhere right now, in a forgotten jar or old wallet, another perfect 1962 penny rests silently, waiting. Waiting for the one pair of eyes that will see it for what it truly is, not a coin, but a legend. Now imagine this for a moment. What if the next coin you touch could change your life forever? What if, hidden somewhere in your drawer, in an old jar of pennies, or in a forgotten box from your grandparents' attic, lies a 1962 penny that could make history again? It sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? But every legend begins with this belief. Every person who ever found something extraordinary once thought, it can't be real. Until it was. Look around you. Somewhere in the millions of coins still in circulation, one might be waiting for you, flawless, perfect, gleaming beneath layers of dust and time. You might have passed it by before, thinking it was just another old penny. But now you know better. Now you know that one simple coin, struck in Denver in 1962, could hold the kind of value most people only dream about. $211 million. A fortune hidden in plain sight, resting quietly in copper. Think of the feeling, that split second when you flip it over, and your eyes catch that tiny D mint mark. Your heart races. Your hands tremble. You grab a magnifier, look closer, and there it is, a perfect strike, a flawless surface, untouched by time. For a moment, the world stops. You're not just holding a coin. You're holding a miracle. The same metal that once bought candy or gum now carries the power to change a life, to rewrite destiny. That's not fantasy, that's the strange, magical truth of collecting. You see, treasures don't always sparkle like diamonds. Sometimes they hide in the smallest, simplest places. That's what makes this story so powerful. The 1962 D penny isn't locked away in museums or behind glass walls, it's out there. It's still real, still reachable. That's why collectors all over the world are searching again. People who never cared about coins before are now opening jars, sorting rolls, checking change. Because hope, the idea that something so small could hold so much possibility, is irresistible. And here's the truth: anyone, anywhere, can find one. You don't need millions. You don't need luck. You just need curiosity, patience, and the courage to look closely. Maybe you'll find one that's not worth millions, but it'll still tell you a story. A coin that's older than you, older than your parents, still shining through decades of history. That's not just metal, that's memory preserved. And if, by some twist of fate, you do find the one, that perfect, untouched 1962 D, your story becomes part of history itself. Take a second and really think about it. How many hands has one coin passed through in 63 years? How many stories has it witnessed? How many lives has it touched before it found its way to you? That's the power you hold when you pick up a penny. It's not just copper. It's continuity. It's proof that even in a fast-moving world, some things last. That's why this coin, this tiny, unassuming piece of history, has become the ultimate symbol of endurance and luck. So here's your challenge. After watching this, go and find your coins. Empty that old jar in your kitchen. Open that dusty box in your cupboard. Check every penny, every date, every detail. Look for that magical number, 1962. Look for the small but powerful letter D just beneath the year. Look for sharp edges, rich red-brown tones, clean surfaces. Because you never know, you might be the next person whose story echoes across the collecting world. The next person whose discovery changes everything. And even if you don't find the $1,000,000 treasure, you'll still find something far more valuable: connection. You'll touch history with your own hands. You'll feel what collectors feel: the excitement, the mystery, the pride of preservation. You'll realize how much beauty hides in the simplest things we take for granted every day. That's what makes collecting special. It's not just about money. It's about rediscovering wonder. So as you sit there, maybe with a handful of pennies beside you, take one and really look at it. Feel the texture. Trace the year. Notice the faint shine that still glows after all these decades. Ask yourself, where has this coin been? Who has touched it? What stories has it seen? That's how the magic begins. You don't just collect coins, you collect time itself. And time, when preserved, becomes priceless. Every great collector started somewhere: one coin, one spark, one question. And right now, that question is in your hands. Could it be me? Could I be the next to find the hidden treasure of the 1962 D penny? The only way to know is to look. So go ahead. Start today. Search your coins. Share your discoveries. Because legends don't wait. They're found by those who dare to look closer, to believe that miracles can fit inside a circle of copper no bigger than an inch. And maybe, just maybe, that miracle is already in your home. And now, as the story of the 1962 D penny comes to its end, take one last moment to think about what this tiny piece of copper really means. It's more than just a coin. It's more than metal or mint marks or millions of dollars. It's a symbol of endurance, of patience, of possibility. A single penny that survived more than 6 decades, passing silently through hands, through pockets, through time itself, And yet here it is, still speaking to us. Still reminding us that greatness doesn't always arrive in gold or silver. Sometimes it comes in the quiet glow of copper. When you look at that penny, you're not just seeing a year stamped into metal. You're seeing a story written by history itself, a story of America in its prime, of factories buzzing, of people dreaming, of lives intertwined with change and progress. The 1962 D penny carries the heartbeat of that era, frozen in its shine, whispering through its edges, echoing through generations. And somehow, through chance and destiny, one of them became worth $211 million. Not because of luck alone, but because of the rare alignment of perfection, preservation, and the human desire to remember. But even if you never hold that exact coin, its message belongs to you. Because the real treasure isn't in the money, it's in the meaning. The 1962 D penny teaches us that nothing is truly ordinary. That even the smallest things, forgotten in drawers or buried in time, can hold unimaginable worth. All they need is someone to look closer, someone to see the hidden light. And isn't that what life is about? Seeing what others overlook, believing in what others dismiss, finding wonder in what seems simple. Somewhere, maybe even tonight, someone will open an old box, pour out a handful of coins, and find a tiny spark of copper catching the light. Their heart will skip a beat. Their hands will tremble. They'll whisper the words softly, 1962 D, and feel the weight of possibility settle in their palms. Maybe it will be them who finds the next priceless penny. Maybe it will be you. That's the beauty of this legend, it never really ends. Because the 1962 D penny isn't just history, it's hope. Hope that there's still magic left in the world. Hope that patience and passion can turn a cent into a fortune. Hope that stories don't fade, they just wait to be rediscovered. And as long as people keep searching, keep believing, the legend will live on. Every time someone bends down to pick up a penny from the ground, every time someone checks an old jar or flips a coin in their hand, they're carrying the spark forward. So when this video ends and the screen fades to black, remember this: somewhere, right now, a miracle might be resting under a thin layer of dust, waiting for the right eyes to see it. Maybe it's in your home. Maybe it's in your hand. Or maybe it's still out there, hidden, waiting for destiny to find it again. That's the magic of the 1962 D penny. It makes you believe in small things, in quiet moments, in the power of time itself. And as you walk away, as the sound of this story fades, keep one thought close to your heart: history isn't buried in museums. It lives in the smallest, most unexpected places. Sometimes, all it takes to uncover it is a single glance. Because legends don't disappear. They wait, and the 1962 D penny is still waiting.